Hello everyone and welcome back to Crypto Atlas. Unless you guys are new to the channel, then it is very nice to meet you guys. Feel free to subscribe. Just so you guys know, we're going to be talking about Bitcoin today, Ethereum, Orchid, as well as Loopring, and going over some of the latest news as well as doing the technical analysis. So again, if you guys are new to the channel and you would like to, feel free to hit subscribe for more cryptocurrency news and technical analysis. And also, guys, let's try to get to 100 likes on this video. Every video we've been doing, that's been our goal, and every like is greatly appreciated. So please, if you guys haven't yet done so, make sure you click that thumbs up like button. Also, click the bell icon so that you actually get a notification. Otherwise, YouTube has a bad time of actually telling you what's going on. All right, let's get into this. First bit of information. Another $1 billion wipeout. Why is Bitcoin seeing extreme price moves? Well, this actually can be explained fairly easily. This is actually in relationship to what's called liquidations, which is a result of leverage. This explains it very well, so I'm just go ahead and read this through for you guys. Maybe you've heard of liquidations before, maybe you've heard about leverage before. I've got my little chart here on the side. This is btcusd.aggr.trade, and I actually like to see this for a couple of reasons. You can actually change the settings on this. I got $100,000 as a minimum threshold, but if somebody gets liquidated on this, it'll actually pull up the text and say that there's been a liquidation and what the price amount was and what exchange it was. The only thing that I don't really care for is that I don't see the option for Coinbase on here. It shows a lot of major exchanges, but I still don't understand why they don't include Coinbase on it. Well, actually, no, Coinbase doesn't do leverage trading, I believe. I was on a wait list at one point. I think they took it away. They changed their mind or something. Anyways, so looking at this, just a quick side note, you can actually change this. So if you didn't want to say have Bitcoin, maybe you wanted to have Ethereum. I've done this with Orchid before, but we just changed BTC, change it over to ETH, and now you can see it actually does the same chart. Technical analysis, breaking it down, you can see the price movements there, and then if anything was to happen to come up there. So yeah, if you want to have something like this, you don't have to do just Bitcoin, btcusd.aggr.trade. You could also do OXT, Ethereum. I don't know how many other ones you guys might want to check out, but you know, it's a fun little thing. You can see this all happening in real time. I can zoom in, change the perspectives on some of these things too. Okay, anyways, so go ahead and let's go ahead and go over the description on this. In the Bitcoin futures market, traders borrow additional capital to bet against or for Bitcoin. The technical term for this is leverage, and when traders use high leverage, the liquidation threshold gets tighter. For example, if a trader borrows 10 times the initial capital, a 10% price move to the opposite direction would cause the position to be liquidated. Once it is liquidated, the position becomes worthless and all of the initial capital is lost. When Bitcoin saw the big 20% drop from $41,000 to $30,500 on January 12th, nearly $2 billion worth of futures contracts were liquidated. However, within 24 hours, another $1 billion worth of contracts were liquidated, yet there were no large price swings other than the range between $32,000 and $35,500. The data indicates that many traders have been over-leveraging their positions to short Bitcoin after it recovered from $30,500. Hence, as Bitcoin rallied to $35,500, many short contracts were liquidated. The cascading liquidations of short contracts are most likely the main reason behind Bitcoin's swift 20% relief rally from $30,500 to $35,500. The market is less leveraged compared with the past 2 weeks. The futures funding rate is moving in between 0.01% and 0.05%, which means buyers still represent the majority of the market but are not dominating the market. By comparison, when Bitcoin was above $40,000, the futures funding rate consistently remained at around 0.1% to 0.15%. This meant that the market was overwhelmed by buyers and over-leveraged traders. All right, so now you got a little bit more of a breakdown on that, and I'm actually still seeing the price going up. We are now at 4 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time, so it just went into a brand new daily candle. Daily closure right around $37,450 or so, which you guys will be able to see just a little bit better here on this chart. So right around that price range. Go ahead and zoom in just a tiny bit here. Brand new spank candle right there. Yeah, right around 37,383 or so, right? Anyways, we'll take a look at that more in just a minute here. eToro has run out of Bitcoin to sell. Demand is greater than supply. All right. So simple laws of supply and demand, guys. Think of it like this. If this is your supply and this is your demand, let me see from your guys' angle. Yeah, this is supply and this is demand. Okay. So if supply goes up, then the price is going to go down because it's now easier for these people to get one, right? There's more of this than there are people that want it. But if demand stays the same and supply goes down, the price goes up. Or if the supply stays the same and demand goes up, the price goes up. So there's two circumstances in which price can actually go up in this scenario. And what we're seeing happen is supply is slowly going up, but we're also having negatives. So it's kind of bobbing in between these two states. And if you take about the actual total circulating supply, we estimate about 4 million of that is actually gone forever because of the early days and people not really knowing what to do with Bitcoin and taking it seriously, or they died and they lost their keys, or yada, 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 right? So in that circumstance, we're having more adoption increase, and this is essentially bobbing around a little bit. You could argue and say it is still technically going up as more people are now realizing the value behind it, so people are becoming a little bit more secure behind it. But still, there's not much in general that's actually being produced every day, and the rate of adoption is far exceeding that daily production amount of Bitcoin. So you have a company like eToro. They issued the statement. They said, "We would like to give you advance notice of possible limitations to crypto buy orders this coming weekend. We are seeing unprecedented conditions in the crypto markets, which have led to increased demand for crypto from eToro users, both old and new. We are doing all we can to manage this demand and to maintain the best possible customer experience." So there's a shortage supply crisis that is now becoming more and more imminent. I mean, the fact that they have to do a disclaimer like this, I think speaks a lot of volumes. And Bitcoin is still just popping right now. 37,860. This thing is getting close. I'm looking at my other chart over here as I'm talking with you guys. But as you guys can see, 37,830 on that chart. There you go. Now TradingView is starting to catch up a little bit. Looking like it's going to hit $38,000 here in just a second. Excuse me. Trading Hall of Fame, the Bitcoin options bet that made $58.2 million profit on just $638,000. Let's be honest. A lot of people don't exactly have $638,000 that you could risk losing. So to put something down on the table like that and reap those rewards, more than likely this individual was already doing pretty well. Either that or they were just, I don't know, not caring with life or something and taking a super huge risk, or they had some crazy insider thing that they didn't know. We were really close to $38,000 as I'm talking. Back in October, one trader made a long shot bet that Bitcoin would hit $36,000 by January. It paid off in a spectacular way. With a 9,118% return on investment, a Bitcoin options trade initiated in late October is touching some of the best currency market bets of the past 40 years by leaps and bounds. On October 30th, someone, a single trader or small group, bought 16,000 contracts of January 29th expiry call options at the 36,000 strike for 0.003 Bitcoin per contract, according to data shared by Deribit. The initial investment or total purchase cost was 48 Bitcoin, or roughly $638,400 as per Bitcoin's price back then. At press time, the $36,000 call option is drawing a price of 0.1060 Bitcoin on Deribit. At current prices, which haven't changed much in the past 24 hours, and assuming the position is still active, the trader appears to be sitting on a gain of 1,648 Bitcoin or $58.2 million. Here's how we arrive at the net return. Options current price of 0.1060 Bitcoin times 16,000 contracts times Bitcoin's current spot market price of $34,700 minus the cost of trade equals 1,696 Bitcoin times $34,700, which is now minus the $638,400 equals $58,851,200 minus $638,400. And then the final conclusion, $212,800. It's a 9,118% return on investment. The trader would have made significantly less money in the spot market because Bitcoin is currently up over 150% from the October 30th average of around $13,700. And as I've been talking already with that, we are now very, very close to $38,000 once again. And it is, there we go, $38,000. Just passed it as I'm recording this video again, moving from the previous day candle position into the new daily candle position. Next stop, $39,000, get back to 40K, 42,000 is the previous top. Significant gains as of the daily candle yesterday, but we'll discuss that here in just a little bit. A new physically backed Bitcoin exchange traded product, or ETP, has hit the 6 stock exchange in Switzerland. Developed by ETC Group, this is the 34th Bitcoin ETP on 6. Meanwhile, the Winklevoss-owned Gemini Trust Company is backing the latest Bitcoin exchange traded fund, or ETF, application filed in Canada. Arnox, I have no idea how to say this, Arx Novum Investments Bitcoin ETF could conceivably trade on the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, or the CME, if approved. U.S. regulators have long been skeptical of these high-risk investment vehicles, which many point to as hampering institutional interest. By the way, check out Blockworks' new editorial site. All right, so some interesting information being shared there with you guys. Now, the CME, for those of you that don't know, what is going on with my chart? It's going up so fast that it can't even seem to keep track. I got to refresh the page now so it actually allows it to flow properly. The price is shooting all the way up. Look at this. I got to show you guys this for a second. Sorry. The price is shooting up so high that even on this chart, from this point of view, it's nearly going off the chart. It's like it doesn't know where to register this stuff. So I'm going to try and drop that down a little bit more there so it's got some room to potentially grow. Oh, or drop. You know, it just had some really nice gains, so some people are going to be taking profits. Anyways, the CME that I was just now talking about, there's oftentimes gaps, and historically speaking, when those gaps occur, it's because the CME works during business hours. So unlike the traditional crypto market, which is 24/7, the CME is business hours, and historically has been shown that when a gap is opened up over the weekend from a Friday closure to a Monday opening, that the prices have tended to drop back down and fill in those gaps before they had a further continuation up. However, since our recent run pushing past around, I think it was closer to 14K or so, if I remember correctly, those CME gaps are not as strong of a validation point anymore, especially during this bull market position, as we have seen previous CME gaps be formed. So the fact that the CME may have new introductions included with this, especially if we go into the ETFs, there are a lot of financial investors out there that are not wanting to get into the Bitcoin game yet until an ETF actually comes out. So once that actually happens, you could see a lot more smart money actually come into play, and that could really help bolster the price up even higher. Anyway, so let's go ahead and take a look at the charts now and what's going on with this. Previous day candle, we had already set up this baseline, which was right around the $32,000 price point. And you could see that over the course of the day, it did drop down, almost touched it, bounced right back up, just very briefly going below that 21 EMA. It was not 3 days consecutively of going below that line, suggesting that maybe there's more of a push trying to go for a bear market period. We did have one day that was below it. The next day was pretty close. And then the third day was once again just slightly below it, but none of these actually closed. So we've still been closing in the positive over the 21 EMA. So it's still suggesting that we're in a very bullish type trend pattern. Once again, a reminder, guys, if you're new to the channel and you're enjoying this content, please do not forget to hit subscribe. Click that like button. Let's try to get to 100 likes on this video, and also hit that bell button so you can stay up to date with all the stuff that's going on. Bitcoin still rallying up a little bit, holding its ground at $38,000 as of the time of me talking in this video. Yesterday had a point as high as just under $38,000 and as low as $32,266, so quite a considerable price swing in that position. We've been seeing some major volatility taking place in these last several days, and from the article we were talking about earlier, a lot of that seems to be related to these leverage trades and a lot of the liquidations that are going on because of people taking leverage trades. And now if we go ahead and look at this on a 1 hourly time frame, sorry for my throat, by the way, guys. Excuse me. Looking at this a little bit stronger, there's actually some suggestive signs on the 1 hourly that's looking a lot like an inverted head and shoulders pattern, which is actually a very bullish sign. So in one instance, you can look at it, say right here, and then this would be considered the neckline. So you got one shoulder pattern, a head pattern, another shoulder pattern. But at the same time, you can also argue and say that we have other positions being formed, such as right here. I would say this is a little bit less validated because this shoulder pattern is essentially right at the same point of where that head position was. So I would argue and say that the most validated position, or you can even argue and say that there's a regular head and shoulders pattern where there's a shoulder here, head, and then there's a shoulder there. So that actually would be considered a bearish pattern by technical standards. But with where we're at right now, we've broken above that level of the head. So this is actually suggesting stronger signs of this being more related to an inverted head and shoulders pattern. So let's actually look at the circumstances with that and see how that exactly plays out. So based on this kind of a circumstance with where we have here, we could see a potential breakout continuation that would lead up to approximately right around $45,000, $45,664, which would be amazing. If it ended up doing something like that, then we would have a new all-time high. It was 42,000. Yeah, so we would have a new all-time high, and that actually puts us above the threshold where we are now pushing closer towards 50K, and would signify a likelihood of a further continuation rally at some point, but with a potential short-term pullback as people try to take their profits, and that could send it a little bit back into a previous bear trend for a short-term perspective. The RSI is suggesting it being as overbought. There was quite a significant drop that had taken place several days ago that was all the way down on the RSI for being oversold. That's on the 1 hourly time frame. As you guys can take a look back here, the last time that we were officially below the RSI on the daily time frame was actually all the way back in March of 2020. So quite a significant time ago. That was that big, huge drop. So even this like $10,000 drop that we had just the other day, that put us basically back into the median zone. I mean, or not even. It still put us down to around 60. So in one sense, this is suggesting that we could end up seeing another massive drop. But this is a bit of a lagging indicator. Keep that in mind. And we're also in a bull market. We're seeing a supply shortage. There's so many other factors. So to use traditional analytical tools, in my personal opinion, because I'm not a financial advisor, some of these tools are going to be more validated than other ones. And looking at this, signs are suggesting pretty heavily. Something else I would actually look at too is that this top level of resistance that's getting formed over the top line of this pattern here does coincide pretty strongly with where this breakout position was that I just showed you guys. They're almost line on line. So just before that level of what I was talking about a minute ago here, I'd be looking at it slightly lower, right around $45,400. I feel this is the most likely level that we could see a tap and then a little bit of a pullback before it has a further continuation up. If it decides to go past that, then the next major zone that we would be looking at is going to be at the $50,000 range. I don't know if there's a little shortcut key for TradingView to automatically lock to the nearest major whole digit number. So if anybody knows of something like that, feel free to tell me. I might forget to look it up later on. But yeah, this is actually looking really good. However, in a bear case scenario, if this decides that it wants to go down, then I would be concerned at looking at it potentially dropping down to $35,640 first. Another level could actually coincide as you see these dropping right across. That does essentially cross with the 21 EMA. That is at $33,291. Another further drop down at $32,000. We saw that $32,000 being tested several days now, so that is actually the strongest level of major support. There was one moment where it had dropped all the way down to $30,000, but with us being up $8,000 again as of this previous point, it's hard to believe that it could do that, but you know, anything is technically possible here. And if we zoom out even more here on the daily, look at just how exponential this line is going. This is starting to look more like the early days of Bitcoin all over again, right? So you got this line going up here, starts to climb just a little bit, climbing higher and higher, and then it's basically going vertical. So if this was to continue up in this pattern, let's do a little theory-based scenario, yeah? So let me find my reference point here if I can. I always forget where some of these things are. All right, the bar pattern. So when we started to have this first major movement, what I want to see right now is if this was to continue on its trend, and we'll go ahead and include today, it looks like by February 12th, we could end up seeing it ending right around $55,000, but at one point bouncing off of $60,000. Very interesting, right? Well, let's go ahead and clone this and give it one more case scenario, just in case. At this point, $75,000 would now be exceeded by March, going close to my birthday on this, so that's looking pretty good. Let's go ahead and do it once more because we want to see, based on these trends, how long would it take for us to get to $100,000, right? So by doing so at this point, we're now very close at $96,665. And then we're going to go ahead and do it one last time as we were not quite there and just kind of setting that position right up. You could argue and say that because I'm overlapping those 2 points, maybe it's not necessarily the most validated position, but you know, it's basing it off of where this last point had ended, and I'm actually using that as initial point. Anyways, so we could see $100,000 hitting as of maybe around April, going closer to May. April to May. What do you guys think? Do you guys think that something like this could be possible? Is this trend pattern something that seems feasible? By this perspective, it's not even as vertical as what we've been seeing. This is as if the supply shortage kind of stagnated itself a little bit. So you got some pullbacks that are occurring, some gains that are continuing on as well. I see something like this as totally feasible, but to be also completely honest with you guys, I wouldn't be surprised if it happens sooner, just because of the fact that we are having a massive supply shock. We just saw it with eToro. Wait until PayPal announces that you can now buy Bitcoin through them worldwide. Don't forget that right now it's only through the US. It's so important. Some other major institution decides that they want to get in on this. Microsoft, what if they decide to buy a big chunk of this? What if Apple decides to go ahead and buy a big chunk of Bitcoin? What if they come out with the ETF? People have been talking for a long time that if the United States of America comes out with an authorized Bitcoin ETF, that would be very bullish news. We still don't have that. We still don't have Walmart that's allowing Bitcoin purchases. We don't have Amazon allowing Bitcoin purchases, or eBay, right? There's so many different opportunities with things. What if McDonald's says, we know Burger King was saying it before, but it never seemed like it was really being pushed that heavy. What if McDonald's, they do their little monopoly thing and then they decide to do some sort of a thing like with a Bitcoin giveaway? You know what I mean? Like, oh, hey, instead of doing the monopoly thing, you could get $1 million. What if they're doing like a Bitcoin combining scratch thing? I don't know. You know what I mean? You have a chance to win a full Bitcoin or 10 Bitcoin or whatever. I don't know. You could see something like that happen. The year has just started. We're still in January. We got a long way to go. Let's go ahead and talk about some of the other coins now. I'm going to go ahead and hit save here. Oh, I guess it already saved. All right. This is exciting. I didn't realize I'm already at 24 minutes. I should probably go ahead and go through these pretty quickly then. Very briefly on these other ones. Ethereum, still in the green position as of the previous day. Nice little gain there. Bounced right off of that 21 EMA. I've been telling you guys, the 21 EMA is a really good indicator for these charts. This is now broken above my key level of resistance. which is 1,135. That is now suggesting signs of it being a level of support. As this continues to rally up, we're going to see another level at $1,287, and then breaking above 1,350, and then lastly is breaking the all-time high at 1,420. Then the sky is the limit for where it can go to next. A lot of people would then obviously be assuming that we could see $1,500, $2,000, things like that. If it decides it wants to drop back down again, under $1,000 is where we could see this at $995. Yesterday, it did have one point where it did go below $1,000, which is very interesting, but it was short-lived. Below that, we could actually see it at $910, another level at $833. All right, then the next one we've got is going to be, let's take a look at Orchid. And then we're also going to wrap up with Loopring. And looking at Orchid, Bitcoin's starting to make a little bit some green moves again too. Orchid had a nice green candle yesterday, which has now brought it in the closure above the 21 EMA. There was a bit of a sell-off that took place. Looking at this on a more of a short-term basis, you can actually see right here, there was a large amount of volume that had occurred, price shot right up, and then immediately started to retrace back again in a very short time frame. So quite considerably a pump and dump scenario. Pump, dump, then some gains up again, and then several more dumps, nearly bottoming out its position. Another gain right there. We're trying to see how this can hold and seeing if it continues to try and get itself to rally up higher, and that's on the 15-minute time frame. Going back to the daily time frame, we're still in this like old school consolidated space of what I've been showing you guys. Needs to break above 30 cents from a psychological standpoint, then go above 32 cents or 0.3227. Ultimately, by doing so with that, if it can close itself up, especially above 33, 34 cents, then we're working back into higher regions of the previous Fibonacci retracement, and we're showing stronger signs of recovery going back towards the all-time high of the $1, which we saw not too long ago from last year. It's already had a huge sell-off. Most of the tokens released are already done with its thing. Staking mechanics are rolling out. They got a whole other slew of things for their projects that are supposed to be coming out for the year, which is really exciting. And personally, I really like this project. I really believe in it, and I think this is going to be a huge head turner in probably the near future. But right now, there's a lot of shenanigans that have been going on. If it decides it wants to go back down, the 21 EMA is at 26 cents, 0.2607, further level at 24 cents, and then another level down below at 21 cents. And lastly, let's go ahead and look at Loopring and what is going on with that bad boy. Loopring, let's get rid of this right here. So Loopring yesterday had a very good green candle. So far in the new daily formation, it is showing some bearish signs as we're 23 minutes into the new daily candle position. Volume still pretty low. Even with the volume from yesterday, this massive gain was pretty much all in one direction. As you guys can tell, in comparison to say what happened back on January 5th, the candle size is pretty comparable except for where that actual top wick had occurred, but nowhere near at all the level of volume is what we saw back then. Even comparable, you could say back to the January 3rd candle, it still was only about half of the same amount of volume space that had taken place. So since everything was mostly in one direction, mostly all buying pressure, expecting some selling pressure is, well, it's expected. I would be concerned that this could be leading to a pump and dump situation. It is showing some potential to go back towards trying to hit that dollar level as we saw previously, it going up to 63 cents back on January 5th. So overall, the project is still showing some strong promise. Don't get me wrong with that. But based on the specific volume that took place yesterday, that there wasn't much selling pressure against it in that regard, the following day, I'm a little bit concerned, right? So I'm kind of on edge with it. I still think that it's got good prices. Even if you came in at 40 cents and it decides it does want to push back to the previous 63 cents, you're looking at a 23-cent gain on every single one of the tokens that you own. And that is pretty darn good, right? We're almost like a third or so of going into that position. And if it decides it wants to go further up right now, I would be looking at a level first off here at 48 cents if it can manage to break above that. And then our previous high going up to the 63 cents. If it decides that it wants to go back down, I would be concerned at our 21 EMA, which you can actually see from the previous day lines up pretty well with where it's at now. So there's 2 points of reference right there, almost 3 in formation with the previous day candle, another candle position over here. So some very close points, all kind of ranging around in this zone. So I'd be looking at about 31 cents, 0.311 for it to be a support level, and then down below that at 29 cents, and then a further level down below that at 24 cents, 0.247. Okay, that's going to go ahead and do it for this episode, guys. If you're new to the channel, once again, please don't forget to hit subscribe, hit that thumbs up, like button. Let us try to get to 100 likes on this video, continue to grow the community. Click the bell icon so you can stay up to date with all the latest news and information. Drop a comment down below. Let me know what you thought about everything here today. If there's anything that I may have missed that you think is important, be sure to share that with everyone else. You can also just say hello down below. Thank you guys so much, and I will see you guys in the next episode.